A Mortal's Journey to Immortality Episode 161. Hanley fulfilled his promise, unleashing a massacre that wiped out the entire Fu family. He had successfully avenged Xin Ruyin and her husband. Back in the main hall, guests and hosts alike were enjoying themselves, and the atmosphere was exceptionally lively. Meanwhile, the Fu family old ancestor was still in a secluded pavilion, handling a rather urgent matter. Beside him was a burly man in the early core formation stage, from whose waist hung several bulging leather pouches. The Fu family old ancestor suddenly slammed the table, his face gloomy. He growled with a snort, "Humph. This isn't Zijin Nation, yet their Yulin sect actually demands us to provide manpower and resources to help them gather information and search for a certain item. They truly treat our Fu family as their subordinates. Preposterous. What's even more infuriating is that they won't even tell us what they're looking for. They merely want us to pay attention to whether there have been any strange occurrences in various parts of Yuanwu Nation recently, and if so, to immediately inform them." The burly man said thoughtfully. "Oh? From the looks of it, the Yulin sect doesn't seem to want the Moyen Gate to know about this matter, which is why they came to our Fu family and spoke so vaguely." The old man pondered for a moment, then said, "Xiao San, you're right about that. To be on the safe side, our Fu family, besides wholeheartedly currying favor with the Moyen Gate, also secretly associated with the Yulin sect. However, the Yulin sect doesn't trust our Fu family. In that case, we should adjust our strategy. I wonder if the Guiling sect, the weakest of the six sects, would be easier to befriend." Just at this moment, an unfamiliar man's voice, containing a hint of mockery, suddenly drifted in from outside the window. "Haha, I didn't expect that besides clinging to the Moyen Gate's coattails, the Fu family even had connections with people from the Yulin sect. No wonder they've been so prosperous and unyielding for the past 100 years." The Fu family old ancestor and the other man jolted, leaping from their chairs. The two exchanged a look of alarm. The Fu family old ancestor, startled and bewildered, asked loudly, "Who is it? Which esteemed expert has graced our Fu family with their presence? This Fu Tianhua did not rise to welcome you from afar. I hope you will forgive my offense." The man continued, "There's no need for a distant welcome. I've come uninvited today, so to speak." After he finished speaking, a brilliant clear light suddenly erupted within the pavilion. The Fu family old ancestor and the other man were greatly startled. They hastily flickered their figures, each retreating to a corner of the room and releasing their protective auras. The Fu family old ancestor even summoned a magic treasure flying sword, causing it to hover erratically before him, while the burly man, with a solemn expression, grabbed one of the spirit beast pouches at his waist. At this moment, as the light receded, a cultivator in light robes suddenly appeared in the middle of the room. This person had an ordinary appearance, looking to be only 25 or 26 years old. It was precisely Hanley, who had secretly entered the stronghold. Hanley stood with his hands clasped behind his back. He glanced at the Fu family old ancestor and the other man, and slowly began to speak. "Just now, I swept with my divine sense. The entire Fu family only has 3 core formation cultivators. Among them, your 2 cultivations are the highest. Presumably, you are the ones in power in the Fu family, correct?" After Hanley finished speaking, his expression remained utterly calm, making it impossible to discern if he was pleased or angry. He had not concealed his cultivation, so after the Fu family old ancestor saw Hanley's cultivation, his expression changed drastically. He forced out a trace of a smile and respectfully said, "So it is a senior of the nascent soul stage. May I ask, senior, for what purpose has your esteemed presence graced us? Is there anything our Fu family can assist you with?" Hanley narrowed his eyes slightly as he looked at him and asked indifferently, "You're the Fu family old ancestor?" The Fu family old ancestor respectfully replied, "On the surface, I wouldn't dare. Before senior, how could this junior dare call himself an old ancestor? This junior, Fu Tianhua, is indeed the patriarch of the Fu family." A strange expression appeared on Hanley's face as he said, Since you are the Fu family old ancestor, it means I haven't come to the wrong person. Since I've come to the Fu family to collect a debt, it's only natural that I should first greet you." Upon hearing this, the Fu family old ancestor's heart skipped a beat, and his heart immediately sank into an endless abyss. Collect a debt? Senior must be joking. This junior feels as if this is the first time I've met Senior. Could it be that Senior has misunderstood something? The burly man's face also instantly turned pale, devoid of all color. The hand gripping his spirit beast pouch couldn't help but tighten a few degrees. A nascent soul stage cultivator repeatedly insisting on collecting a debt. This was absolutely an ominous matter. Hanley glanced at the burly man and said with a faint smile, "Misunderstanding? Of course not. Originally, I should have explained things more clearly to you, to spare you from becoming wronged ghosts in the afterlife. But your petty schemes are truly too numerous. You're not giving me time for idle chatter. So you two should go on ahead first. As for the remaining members of the Fu family, I will send them all on their way together." Hearing these words, old ancestor Fu roared as if in a fit of extreme rage. "What? You want to wipe out our entire Fu family?" A yellow talisman suddenly appeared in his hand. With a flash of yellow light, he vanished into the wall behind him. It was actually a rare Earth evasion talisman. Hanley sneered. "Escape? Where can you run to?" He did not immediately pursue old ancestor Fu. Instead, he flicked out a streak of green light, which pierced through the burly man's chest. The spirit beast pouch in the burly man's hand, which had just emitted a black spiritual light, instantly dimmed again the moment he died. A faint, furious roar could be heard from within. Seeing this, Hanley raised his hand and drew the pouch into his grasp, then put it away. At this moment, he finally glanced at the wall where old ancestor Fu had vanished, a cold smile appearing on his face. He summoned Inu and calmly instructed, "You are proficient in Earth evasion techniques. That old ancestor Fu will be handled by you. With your formidable cultivation and attainments in illusion techniques, eliminating a core formation mid-stage cultivator should be effortless." Inu confidently replied, "Naturally. Master, please wait a moment. I'll be back shortly." With a flash of yellow light, her figure vanished. Hanley then released countless three-colored gold-devouring beetles. He had them condense into dozens of three-colored miniature arrows, which then flew out from the windows like a swarm of bees. He sat down cross-legged and activated his great evolution art. His divine sense instantly enveloped the entire Fu family manor. The direct descendants of the Fu family were very easy to identify. Whether by their attire or the several identical cultivation techniques they practiced, they were all completely exposed under the cover of his divine sense. As for those outside the manor, the Fu family mortals without spiritual roots, Hanley did not bother with them. Guided by his divine sense, all the three-colored miniature arrows began to eliminate the Fu family cultivators one by one. Instantly, screams and cries of alarm abruptly rang out. A thick scent of blood immediately enveloped the entire Fu family manor. On the other side, old ancestor Fu was deep underground, fleeing like the wind using the power of the Earth evasion talisman. He only wanted to escape far away from this place. In front of a nascent soul old monster, he could barely save himself. How could he have the ability to protect the other juniors of the Fu family? As for that burly man, although he possessed the Fu family's guardian spirit beast, to hope that he could escape from a nascent soul cultivator was simply wishful thinking. If he could just stall the opponent for a moment, he would be content. As long as he didn't die, the Fu family wouldn't be considered annihilated. After all, the Fu family had several other family strongholds in Yuanwu Kingdom. As long as he escaped to these places, the Fu family would always have a chance to rise again. The only thing that frustrated him was when the Fu family had provoked this calamity star. With just a word, he wanted to wipe out the entire Fu clan. Whenever he recalled the other party's expression, a chill would run through his heart. Just as old ancestor Fu was about to escape the confines of the Fu family manor, a white figure flashed before his eyes. A seductive and beautiful woman suddenly appeared. "Your Earth evasion speed is truly too slow, esteemed sir. Why not hand your head over to me, so this humble one can report back to Master?" Old ancestor Fu was greatly alarmed to hear this, and his body involuntarily paused. Just as he was about to say something, the other party exhaled a cloud of pink fragrant mist, which instantly enveloped him before he could react. He inwardly cried out, "Not good," and hastily cast a spell, intending to retreat. But as soon as the sweet fragrance entered his nose and mouth, his body immediately went limp, and he toppled over, falling unconscious. Inu waved her hand, sending out a streak of white light, and severed his head. Hanley commanded his numerous three-colored miniature arrows to kill all the direct descendants of the Fu family. The two core formation stage protectors of the Demon Flame sect, who wanted to stand up for the Fu family, were also casually killed by Hanley. Seeing this, the numerous guests were greatly shocked and terrified. They hastily released their protective spiritual barriers. The more they thought about it, the more frightened they became. Some immediately regretted greatly, "Why did we come to the Fu family to celebrate a birthday? When the city gate catches fire, the fish in the moat suffer." Several core formation cultivators with powerful divine senses wanted to secretly observe the situation outside the hall. But the Fu family had previously feared that cultivators attending the birthday celebration would probe the secrets of the Fu family manor. So, around the main hall, they had set up restrictions that isolated divine sense. Thus, their divine senses couldn't leave the hall at all. This made them secretly lament and inwardly curse the Fu family. Just as the guests in the hall were in a state of panic, a strange man's voice came from outside the hall. "From now on, for 1 hour, no one is allowed to leave this hall. Otherwise, you will be killed without mercy. After 1 hour, you are free to leave or stay as you wish." Hanley took old ancestor Fu's head to offer sacrifices to Xin Ruyin and her husband. He hadn't expected Xin Ruyin to have left him such a grand gift. Hanley never expected that Xin Ruyin would leave him such a grand gift. The young lass from back then had actually become a grandmother. Returning from the street, Hanley, not wanting to expose his identity, gave an additional command to the guests he had saved. "You must not leave the reception hall within an hour, or you will be killed without mercy." Upon hearing this, the cultivators in the hall breathed a sigh of relief. This person wasn't going to kill them to silence them. They were already thanking the heavens. How would they dare to stir up trouble and seek their own deaths? An hour later, the people who walked out of the main hall discovered that the Fu family's inner treasury was already empty. On the ground, there were only pools of blood. It seemed the Fu family's direct lineage cultivators had truly been wiped out, their corpses even reduced to ashes. However, the Fu family's outer branch low-level disciples and mortals who were a bit further away were still alive and unharmed. They dared not linger, quickly flying away from this place on their spirit tools. They then reported the matter to their families and sects, hoping to seize the initiative in the coming storm or prepare in advance to deal with any situation that might arise. Not long after, the news of the Fu family, the #1 family in Yuanwu Nation, being exterminated by a mysterious nascent soul cultivator within a single day, spread throughout the entire cultivation world of Yuanwu Nation. All the major and minor forces in Yuanwu Nation were in an uproar. Among them, the demonic goose sect had 2 of its beast protectors killed. Enraged and humiliated, the higher-ups of the demonic goose sect sent people everywhere to search for the culprit. They even claimed that the sect's 7 nascent soul grandmasters wanted to meet this expert who dared to disregard the demonic goose sect. Anyone with discerning eyes could tell at a glance that the demonic goose sect was merely putting on a show of strength. This matter would most likely end up unresolved. After all, defeating a nascent soul cultivator was easy, but exterminating or trapping them was exceedingly difficult. Without 3 or 4 nascent soul cultivators acting together, or deploying powerful sealing formations and restrictions, such a feat was unthinkable. The demonic goose sect would not mobilize so many nascent soul cultivators just to avenge a lone protector. Even if they were willing, those old nascent soul monsters wouldn't easily make a move. After the Fu family was exterminated, the spirit mines, marketplaces, and other industries they occupied were all divided up by various forces. Hanley and Xin Ruyin had also formed a friendship with Qi Yunxiao. Now that he had avenged them, He wanted to use the Fu family patriarch's head to offer a sacrifice, which would also bring a complete resolution to the matter. More than 100 years had passed, yet the restrictions on Xin Ruyin's former residence were still there. There should be cultivators living there. Hanley broke through the restrictions and arrived before Xin Ruyin's former residence. A trace of melancholy, like revisiting an old place where things remained but people had changed, appeared on his face. A woman in her 40s, with a delicate face and a cultivation of the third or fourth layer of the qi condensation stage, walked out of the bamboo house. This woman's appearance actually gave Hanley a sense of familiarity. The woman saw Hanley and couldn't help but exclaim in surprise, her face changing drastically. "Ah, you? Who are you? How did you get in here?" She frantically pulled out 2 fiery red talismans. Her gaze towards Hanley was full of hostility. However, after carefully examining Hanley's appearance, she exclaimed in extreme surprise, Senior, could your surname be Han? Are you Senior Hanley?" Hearing this, Hanley smiled faintly and asked, "What is your relationship with the former Miss Xiaomei? Your appearance bears a 5 or 6/10 resemblance to hers." The woman respectfully bowed deeply and replied, "Xiaomei? Oh, Senior, you must be referring to my grandmother. Grandmother passed away decades ago. Now, Miss Xion's residence is temporarily occupied by this junior's family." Hanley let out a wry smile and said, "You are a descendant of that girl Xiaomei. I truly didn't expect that the young lass from back then would actually become a grandmother. But how do you recognize me?" The woman's face flushed slightly, and she said with a hint of embarrassment, "Grandmother left behind a portrait of Senior's true appearance, which she drew herself. This junior grew up looking at this portrait, which is why I recognized Senior at first glance." Hanley asked with some curiosity, "Oh, could you show this Han that portrait of his true appearance?" The woman moved aside, respectfully invited Hanley in, and then brewed him a pot of fragrant tea before going to find the portrait. Of course, her every move was within Hanley's sight. He saw the woman walk into a pavilion not far away. The first floor of this pavilion was completely empty, with nothing at all inside. On the second floor, a long yellow wooden table held 2 pitch-black, aged memorial tablets placed side by side, inscribed with the names Qiyun Xiao and Xin Ruyin. Seeing the scene, Hanley's heart tightened as he recalled the visages and laughter of the two from back then. Alas, many years had passed since their demise. After respectfully bowing to the memorial tablets, the woman pulled out a round, foot-long painting scroll from a hidden compartment beneath the wooden table. She then hurried down the pavilion to meet Hanley. Hanley gently unfurled the painting scroll in his hand, revealing a lifelike man in green robes who smiled back at him. It was precisely his own appearance. After gazing at the painting for a long while, Hanley sighed softly and closed the scroll. Then he asked the woman, "May I, Han, ask something? Why did your grandmother leave behind this painting? Could there be some deeper meaning to it?" Hearing this, the woman's face revealed a hesitant expression. She cautiously replied, "Senior Han, before this junior answers your question, may I ask something? Do you still remember the promise you made to Miss Xian back then?" Somewhat surprised, Hanley asked, "Of course I remember. You know about this matter too." The woman stole a glance at Hanley and said tactfully, with some apprehension, "Actually, this junior's family lives here and has some connection to Senior. However, before Senior fulfills the promise made to Miss Xian, please forgive this junior for not being able to speak directly about it yet." Hanley took out a wooden box containing the head of the Fu family's ancestor. Indifferently, he said, "This is the severed head of the Fu family's ancestor. The entire direct lineage of the Fu family has already been wiped out by me. The remaining collateral branch disciples of the Fu family will absolutely be unable to establish a foothold in the Yuanwu kingdom again. I wonder if this counts as having fulfilled my promise from back then." Hearing this, the woman's face revealed a look of shock. She opened the wooden box and discovered that it was indeed the severed head of the Fu family's ancestor. Hanley also stated frankly that he had specially come to offer sacrifices on the spot to Xin Ruyin and her husband. The woman suddenly remembered something and hurriedly said, "Miss Xian and young Master Qi, under the 9 springs, will surely be greatly comforted after learning of this matter. Senior, please wait a moment. I'll be right back. She walked behind a pavilion, dug out a pale green jade box from under a large tree, and then carried it back into the room, placing it before Hanley's table. The woman explained, Senior Han, back then, before Miss Xian passed away from illness, she left behind a dying wish that the item in this box was to be handed over to Senior, but only after Senior fulfilled your promise. That's why my grandmother always remained guarding this place, as only by staying here would there be a chance to meet Senior. Afterwards, my grandmother informed me of this matter and personally left behind Senior's portrait to prevent missing Senior. Now that Senior has personally arrived and fulfilled the promise from back then, this Junior, according to Miss Xian's dying wish, hands this item over to Senior. This Junior can finally consider a matter of concern settled. Hanley opened the jade box, revealing a pale green jade slip with a yellow talisman affixed to its surface. Faintly discernible silver restriction runes floated across the jade slip's surface. The woman beside him also stared intently at the jade slip, a curious expression on her face. Hanley raised his hand and asked, How so? Has fellow Taoist never seen this item before? The woman respectfully replied, To be frank with Senior, because Miss Xian did not leave instructions for us to view it, we are not allowed to view this jade slip. However, out of curiosity, my grandmother did once take a glance at the contents within the slip. After merely looking for a moment, she spat out 3 mouthfuls of blood and only woke up after being unconscious for a day and a night. Afterwards, my grandmother spent a high price to buy a restriction talisman and sealed this jade slip with it, forbidding us descendants from ever looking at it again. Although this Junior is curious, my cultivation is far inferior to my grandmother's, so I wouldn't dare to harbor such thoughts. Hanley nodded upon hearing this and said nothing more. He blew out a wisp of green radiance, sweeping away the talisman. Seeing this, the woman was greatly astonished. When she had nothing to do, she had also curiously tried to open this talisman, but it was simply like trying to move a mountain, not budging an inch. Yet Senior Han had actually blown the talisman open directly. His divine abilities and cultivation were truly unfathomable. She recalled that back then, this Senior was only at the foundation establishment stage of cultivation. Now, to be able to brutally kill the Fu family's ancestor and wipe out the entire Fu family, his cultivation must at least be at the late core formation stage, or even very possibly that of a nascent soul stage cultivator. Thinking of this, a great sense of reverence arose in the woman's heart. What exactly were the contents recorded within the jade slip? Even Hanley, a nascent soul stage cultivator, was extremely interested. Okay. That's all the content for this video. If you enjoyed it, please don't hesitate to like, share, and subscribe. After all, your support is my motivation to keep creating content. I'm Hanley. See you in the next video.